You want to fight crime? Let's get dangerous.
And yes, it is Saturday once again, and I'm here. It's 9 p.m. and it's time for another episode of From the Desk of Small Press Publisher. I'm your host, Joe D. McPhee here, and we got a pretty awesome show for you tonight here. And I got a couple predictions for you guys to think about here. I'm not going to say that it's going to come 100% true, but this is what I'm seeing and predicting in the near future that this type of stuff is going to happen. It may not, who knows? But I'm seeing the trend, and the trend is pointing in certain directions here. And hopefully this might be either a warning for you or prepare you for what may come to fruition a little bit down the line here. But nevertheless, before we get into that, we got some unfinished business to do, such as telling you guys that Stupid O'Clock, it happens 1 hour into our show here. If we go a second hour, that is followed up by Last Man Standing at 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then you get the respite until Monday when you have Nicholas Tucker and Nevermind the Furthermore at 10 a.m. Eastern on Monday. And yes, there will be another Comic Book Spectrum right here on this channel, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to have a good old time talking some comic books and geek culture with Elaine and Cliff here. So it is worthwhile to be here on Thursday. But nevertheless, here we got people watching, so we're going to go right into it. So we're going to start off our show today with new comic book pickups for the week. And we got a nice little stack of comic books here that we're going to go over here. We're going to go old school for a few moments here, such as Josie issue number 6 finally came in the mail today. I'm happy about that. As well as Josie number 8. These are books from I think they're from 19, they're 12 centers. 12 centers, I want to say they're late 1950s. I'm not certain here. But give me 1 second. I'm going to open it up. Try to keep it as nice and pretty here. I was wrong, 1964. So this is issue number 6 for 1964. So I'm getting closer and closer to trying to track down an actual issue number 1 here for that series. So we got those that came in. Then we also have a issue number 30 from volume 5 for Catwoman here, which is awesome. And we got the Sunstrider Clan here. See, like Josie. Yep, we got Josie's. Yep, we got those two here. We got a Catwoman 30. And only thing I am missing now with this series is the issue number 1. So this is Black Goliath number 4. So I'm missing issue number 1, and we'll have all 5 issues of Black Goliath here. So that came in today. I forgot I had another Josie here. We got Josie number 30 that came as well. So we're getting a lot of the Josies here, at least the older ones coming in. We got another copy of X-Men Heroes for Hope, which is good. And then we're getting closer to finishing up X Factor. And when we say closer, I think we got it down to like 12 issues that's missing now from volume 1. So we're going to start off tonight with issue number 7, issue 8, issue number 9, 11, 13. So I got a lot of my gaps filled here. 14, 16, 18, 20, 23, 25, 27, 28, 29, 31, 34. Get the glare out a little bit. There we go. 34. Then we make a big jump to 52. So, and what's going on? How's it going? Just saying hi to user right here. How's it going? Hopefully you're enjoying everything here. Issue number 57, 58. Then we jump to 61, 62, 63, 64, 65. Then we had another big jump to 83, 86 from the Executioner song here. And then to 87, 88. Nice little Wolfbane, I believe, cover where she got branded at 89. Then we got the deluxe Phalanx Covenant issue here for 106. Another copy of 108. And then we have a big jump to 132 and a 135 here. So that's the biggest jump that we got here. And that pretty much concludes new comic book pickups for the week here. Yeah, no, well, new comic book pickups for my PC. That's what I'm doing here. And we got a whole bunch of new people. We got Coney Nork joining us on tonight here. And user saying he or she is doing good. Saying nice. Well, we just saying that. And ooh. And then it's like, I like this subscribe. Well, thank you so much, Adrian. I appreciate that here. And everybody saying nice. So that is new comic book pickups for the week here. So now we're going to go into, we have also Evelyn. Welcome on in here. I hope that everybody is enjoying everything. Oh, you're from Chile. Good. Excellent. So now we're actually could say that we're officially back to being international, because not a lot of people who come into the chat and actually say hello that often here. So it's nice to know that we have an international reach now. That is great here. So we're going to go into the collector's update here, and pretty much as of right now, tomorrow. Okay, I need that translated, but that's fine. Give me 1 second here. And okay. Yep. Okay. So the Sunstrider clan going to have my back here. And they're looking. So for our update here, no updates on the Film Force. Still missing those 50 issues from the second half of the run here. I'm not certain if they came out with another issue of Film Force as of yet. So that's one thing that's on the mark here. And then there's no update for the Ghost update here. Those are the missing issues that I'm still looking for here. We have actually, come on, if it would move over here. So I guess we're kind of stuck here. There we go. We're going to have an update hopefully next week for the Spirit here, as we got more issues hopefully paid for and on their way. No new updates for the Uncanny X-Men here, only because I haven't really been. Well, actually, some of the stuff is still being pulled, and I just haven't got it and received it via mail. And the Wonder Woman update is still, well, actually, I take that back. They're about to be a Wonder Woman in the mail here next week here, so that's going to be a cool thing. So as far as the production update is concerned, I haven't really worked much on any of the upcoming issues. I have worked on the role-playing game, so we're getting those descriptions done. And I'm working on a couple of other projects here, but I got sidetracked a bit because I did an interview over this last week here. If you haven't watched Comic Conversations on the Heroes for Hire channel, you might want to check that out because I was on that show. We talked about a lot of comics. We talked about a lot of the books and stuff that I have done here. You probably can't really see it because of the glare from the computer here, but I do a line of comic books here, and like the scroll says, like you can always check it out from our website and our merch stuff on Teespring here. So I was doing that over the last week here. So it was a eventful week nonetheless here. But that brings us to tonight's topic here. Comic book predictions, the state of comic books as of right now. I really want to highlight on two of the major things that I've been thinking about for a long time here, ever since I received word about Marvel Studios taking over the comic book division of Marvel here. And we got Christina. Hey, my name is Mike Cox. It's like, I'm really sick. Okay. Sorry to hear that you're not feeling well. That's not a good thing here. I'm sorry that you're not feeling all that well, but hopefully I'm going to try to bring you some joy and happiness with this show here. But getting back to tonight's topic here, the two things that I want to talk about, one was dealing with the fact that Marvel Studios is taking over the comic book side of Marvel Comics and what that eventually means to comic book collectors as of right now. And I started talking about this on a couple of different shows, but I'm going to really go in depth into it here. Does that mean that Marvel Comics going to die because of that? No. But what it's going to do is it's going to start pushing the older people who are still in comic book collecting out of the space here. Because one of the things that I foresee and predicting with Marvel Studios taking over the comic book side here is that the comic books are going to move away from all of the mythos and continuity that has already been established with a lot of characters. And with Marvel Studios taking over the comic book side, we're going to start seeing more of the television mythos taking place in the actual books. So that is a good and bad thing all at the same time. But it also shows me that their marketing department does not understand the audience, especially comic book reading audience. They're still trying to reinvent the wheel, trying to not understand the fact that TV watchers are not comic book readers. Movie watchers are not comic book readers. Comic book readers are comic book readers. You need to reach out to them, and they're trying to force and wedge comic book readers into TV and movies, and it doesn't work that way. The bridge is trying to keep the interest of somebody who's a television watcher to get them to read books. Same thing with the movie watcher, trying to get them to read the actual source material. Sometimes that's not going to happen. People like what they like. And there's nothing that you could do to force them to like another medium. Now, the only way that you could really get that to happen is that you have to make them an Uber fan. And what I mean by an Uber fan, I mean they like everything about a certain character. They become so enthused about characters and the story that they're willing to collect anything and everything. And that's a hard thing to do with movie watchers and TV watchers. I mean, yeah, you could create a great character, you could create a great storyline, but it does not mean that they are going to be willing to spend the money to go and buy the comic books, to go and buy all the other merchandise and everything that you might have them to do later. Yeah, Herper Derp Deadpool. Yep. Oh wait, no story started Deadpool is worth a damn. But here's the thing. Since you're going to mention Deadpool to me is only good in the movies. The movies are going to do great. The comics may not. And that's the thing. It's like the stuff that happened in the comics does not work or sell the story well. What they do in the movies work. and it's funny and it's enjoyable. But you can't get those movie watchers who love to actually buy into the source material. And especially if you make them go all the way back to the very beginning where Deadpool was not jokey. Deadpool was serious. It doesn't work. Now, with Marvel Studios taking over the comic book side, they're probably just going to, cut the old mythos down. They're going to say whatever happened beyond this certain date does not matter anymore, and everything is going to match up to what they're doing on television. So what does that do to everybody that is a comic book reader? Those who like the old stuff, they're going to walk away. Most of them are going to walk away unless they're diehard. And like I say, if they're a diehard Uber fan, they still will pick it up and everything. They will voice their opinions about how it sucks. But the new stuff is not going to be geared towards them anyway. They're trying to get the books geared towards those TV watchers and movie watchers, which hopefully brings them more money than what the source material does. And this is where I'm getting to the point where it's like, you know what, the bigger corporations here, like Marvel and DC, just doesn't understand anymore what comic book entertainment really is and how niche it is, because they're trying to use marketing formulaic type stuff that does not work in print media the way that they think it does. And I'm also kind of interested in looking at statistics here. And the reason I want to look at statistics, because if for some reason making the comics more like what they're showing in the movies and on television, does that really bring in a younger crowd to look at the books? I don't think so. We haven't had a good influx of younger readers. And when I say younger readers, I talk about from the age of maybe like 6 through like 17. We haven't had a big influx from that age range coming into comics here. And the reason being is that a lot of comics now are grim and gritty and all this other stuff for older people. It's not, it's like the stories and stuff is not written for a general population or a general audience anymore. And that plays a major factor on that. It's like, I give zero fucks about Deadpool books, but if Ryan Reynolds make it, Deadpool's 4 through 12, I will watch them all. And that's the whole point. That's the whole point that I'm making here. It's like the movie people who like Deadpool in the movies going to want to watch more Deadpool movies. It never makes them want to go back to the source material, which is the comics that build up that character for them to make the movies that they do. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. It's about understanding the audience and how marketing does not get that point here. And the problem still lies with when you have a older audience who's still buying the comics and they really don't mesh up to the audience that you're trying to play up to, it becomes a problem. It becomes a major, 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 major problem. And with this move by Marvel, I'm seeing across the board that a lot of the older comic book buying audience is going to be, become almost like dinosaurs. We might buy books just to keep collections going, but we're not going to like the material that's coming out. We're not going to like a lot of the storylines coming out. And we may not even really, it's like we might even get to the point where we fall off and no longer collect comics. But the prediction here is it's going to be a drastic downturn for comic book sales in the very beginning. And Marvel is truly banking on the fact that with Marvel Studios taking over as far as control of the print material, that they figure out some type of way to get a younger audience in to keep the machine going. Because if you lose those who have the funds to really be in comic book collecting. And when I say be in comic book collecting, I'm talking about from the ages of 35 and up. The ones that have the money to go out and pay, $200 for $200 or $300 for a beat up copy of Amazing Spider-Man number 300. These younger cats don't have that, and even with the allowances and stuff that's out there, they can't afford that. And it's not even, and the fact that the book prices are not coming down. We're almost at the point where we're at $6 and $7 for one comic book here. Okay, I need somebody to translate that. I have no idea with that, but thank you so much. I know it's Russian. I know that's Russian, but I don't know what that's representing here. I need a translation for that here. But saying all that to say, comics used to be a relatively inexpensive medium to entertain people. Now, because it became more and more corporate, it's becoming one of those things that could be on a chopping block and lost as far as the bigger companies are concerned. And when I say the bigger companies, I'm talking about with Marvel, DC, Image. Those companies are looking at a downturn in sales. Oh, that's what that is. Hello. Well, hello. I did not. I was like, I don't know Russian, so hello there. Hopefully you're enjoying the conversation here. So I'm glad that you are here. So I'm glad that you did translate it for me here. Thank you so much here. So hello and greetings from Chicago. I guess that you are somewhere in the Soviet Union or Russia, I guess. But getting back to what I was saying here, the bigger companies are going to have a bigger downturn here. Okay, this I almost got. So I'm going to say hello, and I know you're saying hello. I can't. It's like trying to understand the last part of it here. Oh, not a problem. I mean, if you need to translate, if we have to translate, we could do the translation every day. I'm glad that you are talking and everything here. So I'm glad that you're here, and I hope that you enjoyed the show here. And same for you. I'm saying hello because I know what OI is, but it's like so estoy de pasa. So I guess you're saying that you're just stopping by, and I'm glad that you're stopping by. Hopefully you are enjoying what I'm saying here and what I'm trying to predict here over the next couple of years with the transition of Marvel Studios taking over the comic book division here. And I haven't even gotten to my second point as of yet, but the main thing with Marvel Studios and the taking over of that is the established mythos and canons for a lot of the titles and a lot of your characters now. I don't see Peter Parker, getting his powers, getting the whole origin change. But what I do see that is changing is, yes, so I did translate that right. You are passing through. Yep. I'm glad that you are passing through, and I hope that you enjoy the show. If you have further comments, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the comments, and we will talk about it. So I don't see Peter Parker's origin changing, but what I do see changing is a lot of the mythos and stories and characters changing to match what Marvel Studios is doing. A good example of that, if you guys have ever watched Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man on Disney Plus, they redid Spider-Man in such a way where it really wasn't, he doesn't have like a Mary Jane or everything like that. And it's like it's like they kind of redid all of the characters in Spider-Man to meet the criteria of what a younger audience might want in today's society here. So you don't have a Mary Jane Watson. You don't have a Gwen Stacy in this version. You see a younger version of Tombstone. And in this version of Spider-Man, or in Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Lincoln and Peter went to the same high school, and he dropped out. He eventually got powers. We saw Doc Ock before he got his powers. We saw everybody coming into their known moniker before they became what they were. So we saw Rhino before he became a Rhino. We saw Doc Ock. We still got Norman Osborn before he got his powers. We got Harry Osborn before he took over as Green Goblin. I mean, it's just like the mythos has changed a lot. So if you're looking for Ditko Spider-Man from the comic books, you're not going to get any of that here. Pearl is kind of like the new kind of like love interest for Peter, or at least that's the girl that he has to crush on. And then we get oh man, I can't even think of her name. Shoot, I can't even think of her name. And she's kind of like, kind of like the go-between. It's like she's like the Ned of the group. If you watch the movies, the first person oh, hello. And I thought I said hello to you earlier here, Evelyn. So hello again. And I hopefully you are enjoying everything that we're doing on the show as of right now. So she's kind of like the Ned, first person to know that he's Spider-Man and all this other stuff. And they are working the mythos in such a way that it actually works. You're not going to get the same everyday Spider-Man, Spider-Man Green Goblin. We haven't gotten to the point where Norman becomes Green Goblin as of yet. But we see Norman Osborn as a terrifying scientific mogul who is venturing into things that he shouldn't be venturing into and causing a lot of collateral damage in doing so. And the fact that he knows that Peter is Spider-Man makes it that much more interesting. But those are the types of things that I'm talking about. Those things that's being done in Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is going to eventually go into the comic books up under Marvel Studio rules here. So all of the other things that had happened with Mary Jane and with Gwen Stacy and Captain Stacy and all the other beloved characters that a lot of the older set had grew up with is about to go away. Now they're going to tell newer stories with different characters or different iterations of those same characters, and it's not going to fit in the same aspect here. They're going to have slightly different origins here. Like the main one that I could think of is Tombstone. It's like, whoever thought that the idea of Tombstone and Peter being in the same high school, and the fact that he eventually drops out of high school, gains the powers, and is leading a street gang and working his way up the crime ladder in Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man actually works. Who would have thought about that? But that goes to show you how well they're trying to write for television. How that translates into comics, we don't know. It could be a hit or a miss. But it seems kind of weird to have a television show be the source material for the comics. It's usually the other way around. And because they're trying to do the things the other way around, where the television and movies being the source material, it doesn't leave much for the writing aspect on the comic book side, because now you have like a very narrow vision of what you can do within those parameters here. Can it work? Yes. Will it turn off a lot of the established comic book readers? Yes, it will. Because they're going to look at it as like, well, back over here, this is what we like here. What you did for the movies, it's okay. We know, you only have like 2 hours and stuff like that to present this stuff, or you have 30 minutes or an hour to present this stuff in smaller chunks and everything, and things move a lot faster. But the stories that you have written in the past, those are golden. Is every last one of them great? No, but the majority of it is worth the time to pick up and read. Now, since you're taking what is going on over here with the TV and movies, and now trying to bring them into the comics, that's going to mess up things here a lot. That will mess up things a lot here. So, with that in mind, I do see a downcline in comic book sales from companies like Marvel and DC and Image, because Image do have books that have had TV shows here, but Marvel leading the way on this aspect will also mean that DC might actually try to do the exact same thing for a lot of their television IPs and movie IPs to make it fit more to their comics as well. But I highly doubt that, because DC has another group of problems on their own here. Like, for one, their absolute line is doing better than their regular titles now. So they have to fix that as a whole. So that is one prediction. Prediction number 2. And this is the one that I really want people to pay attention to. Prediction number 2. Because of what's happening with the bigger companies, smaller companies like myself and those creators who are just now venturing into the comic book realm, we are going to be the ones now leading the charge for new stories. We're going to be the ones leading the charge for new mythos and establishing mythos that will last a lifetime. The only problem becomes where we need to figure out how to get our stuff out there and distributed at the same time that these major companies such as Marvel, DC, Boom, name, and Anarchy Press, name whatever company that you want. We have to get our stuff out there in the same distribution lanes as them. And the reason I say it that way is because the way that I see things going now, crowdfunding is not the way. And I hate to say it that way. I'm not saying, people should not crowdfund. It's like, no, that's not what I'm saying at all. Crowdfunding is not going to be the way to really get your books out there. And I say that for a couple of reasons. For one, when you go out to crowdfund, you have to have your audience already in place. So if you're really, really brand new to the industry, you really haven't built up a brand or build up an audience to expect to get thousands of dollars to print your book. If anything, you might have to limit your project or that issue number 1 in such a way where if you go out there to crowdfund for like $1,000 or $2,000 and just really push and get people behind you. Now, what does that mean in the bigger scheme of things? It would mean that you will have to put more skin in the game. And when I say put more skin in the game, which means that you're going to have to take the brunt of the financial load. You cannot expect people to push you over that line without you putting up any money. No, you're going to have to take the front of that financial load up front to build that audience. And then the second thing here, with all the changes that's coming to crowdfunding, especially for things that are more adult in nature or a little bit more grittier, since places like Kickstarter is now looking at graphics that is being used in these campaigns and flagging them and taking stuff down because of it, you might want to rethink going the crowdfunding route using established platforms, because now you're beholden to their rules, and a censored version of one of your comic book pages could make or break your campaign. So I'm not saying don't crowdfund, but I'm making you aware that as crowdfunding changes, it may not be the best distribution route for people. Now, I'm talking from experience. I have crowdfunded in the past and I stopped. The reason why I stopped is because I saw no audience growth. And the reason I saw no audience growth is because the people who were buying my books on these crowdfunding platforms were also buying books from me on other platforms, such as my own comic book website, at comic book shows, at comic book conventions, places that I actually frequent, they will buy my stuff at. So when I put out a crowdfunding campaign, I wasn't seeing anybody new coming into the audience. And then on top of that, I was also giving a good portion of my crowdfunding money back to the platform, such as Kickstarter or Indiegogo. They were taking a significant portion of that. And there is Aaron. Aaron say hit the like button here. So getting back to what I was saying, those crowdfunding platforms were taking a good chunk of that money here. So let's just say if I raised $1,000 here, Kickstarter was taking close to 200. So about at the end of the day, I was saying close to $800 here, just using, the numbers of 1,000. It could be more, could be less. It could, could be, whatever. But it is something to really truly start thinking about here. The major thing that the prediction here is that I foresee people like myself, companies like myself, small press publishers, independent creators, we have to build our audience big enough to follow us. Not follow us on Kickstarter, not follow us on Fund My Comic, not follow us on Indiegogo. Follow you and your books, your work. They have to follow you. So if you decide to go out there and be solely on Newgrounds, so be it. If you want to be solely on DeviantArt, so be it. If you got the money and you build your own website and you want people to follow you on the website, so be it. But the thing about it is you have to build that audience that really, really, really follows you as a whole. If you don't, you might be, left in the dust here, because you always have to be building. It's like you have to come out here. You have to talk about your book on social media. You have to do the work to build that audience bigger and bigger and bigger. Sometimes you even have to do other projects and work with other people who have a bigger following for them to say, it's like, hey, he's a pretty decent guy. I like what he did for this guy's work, or I like what he did, the cover that he did over here, or I like what he wrote over here. It's not just about hitting one type of platform. It's about building an audience that likes what you do here. Now, mind you, I'm not a real big creator as a whole here. I do what I can where I can. I come out here on Saturdays talking about the industry and talking about these very things here, about what's going on behind the scenes to a lot of comic book creators here. Now, not every comic book creator has the same journey. Not every comic book creator comes into their journey the same way. I, by chance, had to do my hook or by crook, because I had to print my own books. I had to create my own stuff. I drew my own stuff, and I got somewhat lucky that people started liking what I was doing here. And then I got that attaboy from bigger distributors such as Comixology on the digital side, with Comixology and Global Comics and stuff to that magnitude. When you start getting that and getting that encouragement and saying you got something there, keep going, you keep going. When you got other creators telling you to keep going and that they see promise in your work, you keep going. Now others do not have the same luck here. Others might do one or two issues, and because they didn't build the audience, or the audience that they thought they had left, they fell by the wayside, got discouraged, and left. It doesn't necessarily mean that their work is not good. It just means that they didn't build up the way that they're supposed to. Speaking of which, if I can, I'm going to do a shout out to Kiss Me Comics. I believe Kiss Me Comics is about to get into either their 25th or 30th year. So I have to, give them their kudos, because I just remember seeing an email from them talking about their anniversary that they're coming up, and there's supposed to be a brand new project that's coming out soon from their studios here. And if you haven't heard Kiss Me Comics, that's another small press publisher here in Chicago that very few people heard about. One of their major books was called Serenade. So if you look up Serenade for Kiss Me Comics, then you get into the books that Rod Jenkins have done over several decades here. And they have been, a little bitty name that has been in this industry for a very long time and survived. Why? Because they did the work to build their audience that comes by and buy their books at shows. Now, whether or not they have done crowdfunding and stuff, I don't know. At least I haven't seen anything about them doing crowdfunding or anything to that magnitude here. Other people that I know of, at least in my general area here, we had Raymond Leonard, who has done several crowdfunding campaigns and is still working hard at his Agent Solo. He's building his audience through doing videos and stuff on YouTube and doing live drawing exhibitions and everything here. And he's up here, talking to the fans just like how I'm talking to you guys out here. He's doing the work. That's how you get further as an independent publisher or a small press publisher or an independent creator. You got to do the work here. Now, mind you, I'm a little bit, because I got 4 different titles in an upcoming role-playing game, I have been a little bit behind the 8 ball. And plus, since I have a 9-to-5 job, it makes it even doubly time-consuming. That my time is, more valuable. Is like if I'm not spending time doing the work, as far as the drawing, as far as the 3D rendering for primetime Saturday night, if I'm not doing the time for writing the scripts and everything, nothing will get put out there. Unlike some of my other counterparts, like Raymond Leonard is now full time. So he spent, day in, day out drawing, and he's putting out his stuff. Rod Jenkins doing the exact same thing. It's about building that audience. And once you build that audience of people who like your stuff and start loving your stuff and start talking to other people about your stuff and trying to get them on board, you're doing something right. So prediction number 3 is that we're going to lead that charge for new, fresh material. We're going to be the ones that people are going to look for. Those people who are going to go away from Marvel and DC, once they start matching up to what is going on in the movies, they're going to start looking at our stuff. They're going to be another big wave of independent books hitting the popular, or I should say becoming more mainstream. And again, let me explain mainstream one more time here. Marvel and DC themselves are not mainstream. Mainstream is what you guys make it. Once you make a title a household name where people are talking about it, like for example, The Boys was done by Image. However, because of the television show, it became more of a household name because more and more people start following it and they start talking about it and everything. That's how you become mainstream. When people start talking about it, it becomes popular enough where people know the name. They follow the branding. Walking Dead, another example. if you could get to that level where people are talking about your work in that aspect here, you have officially become mainstream. And this is what I'm predicting for a lot of the independent creators out here putting out their original work. Eventually, people are going to pay attention as the bigger companies fall, their sales fall, and people are looking for something brand new and fresh. They're going to start coming to us, and they're going to start buying, and they're going to see it's like they're going to look at what we do. It's like, where has this been all this time? And the only thing we can say is like, we've been here. We've been here. We're happy to have you now. We can't be salty about them not coming to us when we first started, but by them coming to us now, we have made a brand new fan. We have made somebody come into our audience, and we should make them feel welcome. And that's the bigger aspect here. The state of comic books is not dead. It's not going to ever become dead, because one, collecting is alive and strong because of the simple fact that people like collecting comic books. It is what it is. But as far as the newer stuff that's coming out, the newer books that are hitting the stands, the newer IPs that are being created now, whether it be from one of the bigger corporations or by little guys like myself here, we are going to try to catch as many people's attention as possible. So the industry is going to be strong in that aspect as far as the total number of books coming out. But what the problem that I foresee, and the strength of how big of a push that we get from people like yourselves, is going to come back to, are we making you a fan of our work? Are we including you into our audience? Are we making things welcoming enough for you to pick up here? Are we truly catching your interest in the stories that we tell? That's going to be the true test. With Marvel Studios taking over the comic book side, I don't see Marvel Comics doing that anytime soon. They're going to have a major dip in sales. They're going to probably be some book cancellations, and then after they, plateau, you're going to see another uptick. But by the time then you see that uptick, it's going to be an uptick for those things that they have truly established up under the new branding, up under Marvel Studios. That's where I'm going to say we're going to actually see that downturn and upswing within like the next 10 years. Because I don't see it immediately, sales taking off with Spider-Man and everything, because there's a lot of things that they got to correct with Spider-Man. There's a lot of things that they got to correct with the X-Men. They got a lot of things to correct with a lot of their characters because of what's going on in the TV side and the movie side. You got a lot of writers that don't want to use what's already in the toolbox that has already been established by previous writers of those titles. And what's going to end up happening is that Marvel Studios might just take that magical eraser and say, at this point, all canon from the past is gone. What we write from here and now is what's going to be canon. That will happen. Now, whether people like it or not, it's going to be the test of time here. And like I said, over the next 10 years, you're going to see a downcline, a plateau, before it goes back up, before people really show that they like it or not. And in those 10 years, especially during the downcline, you're going to see a lot more people coming over to the independent side. Those that are not owned by Marvel, DC, Boom, and a lot of these bigger companies. Because they're going to be hungry for something new, something different. Even though Marvel is trying to give you something new and something different from established characters, they're not really giving you anything that's so-called original. And even I have to say, even with my stuff is not really so-called original. But it's original enough to catch people's attention. those are, those are the predictions that I have really, really, truly thought about over this last week here. And it's kind of sad, it's kind of sad that, I'm not saying that Marvel is going to die. It's like, no, Marvel's not going to die, but their focus is going to change. The focus is going to change to the degree where they're going to come up with brand new stuff. Now, the question is, will it hit the audience that they have as of right now to help them keep treading water? Or are they going to roll the dice and gamble to hopefully pick up new people? And if the new people is only solely into the TV stuff or the movie stuff, it ain't going to work. But we don't know. We don't know what the future holds. I don't have that magical crystal ball. I'm not saying that this is doom and gloom for Marvel, because it's a difference. Different does not mean bad. Different just means different. It's not common. So we have to look at it from that aspect. It's like they're going to do something that is uncommon to what we are used to seeing traditionally with comic books. But also at the same time, we don't know if it's good or bad until we get to that point. And over the next 10 years, we're going to see it. It might be really, really bad that first year and they just reverse course. We don't know. But that's what they're kind of alluding to as far as Marvel Studios taking over. They're really kind of alluding to a lot of the stuff that's happening in the comics eventually slowly matching what they're doing with the TV and movies. And the one thing that a lot of people, a lot of the fans, and it's like, well, I should say a lot of TV watchers, movie watchers, and comic book readers don't understand unless you're on the inside of the industry, is that writing for TV is one thing, writing for movies is another thing, and writing for comics is a completely different thing. And the reason why I have to say it that way is because of the timing. When you deal with TV and movies, every scene that you deal with gets accounted for by every second. With comic books, one panel could take you from 1 minute to like 3 days, depending on how you tell the story. One comic book page could speed up things so fast that if you try to translate it for a movie, you have to add in filler. So going from comic books to TV and movies, you're adding extra things over here that was never truly discussed over here on the comic book side. But when you go the opposite route, everything is accounted for. Now, how you break it down in panel form becomes a problem. What do you cut out? What do you add? How do you add it into it? How do you build up from it? That's the reason why I say that going from TV and movies is more restricted on the comic book side than the other way around. Having your comic be your source material allows you to be very, very creative over here. But the other way around here is that everything is dealt toward all the way down to the last second. It does not give you as much freedom over here to translate this over here. And if you do get a little bit liberty to leave the source material over here, people may not like it over here because they didn't see it on the television. They did not see it in the movie. So why is it in here? So that's part of the reason why I say we have to have some caution with where everything is going here. Am I looking forward towards the so-called independent revolution? Yeah, I am. Because it's about time for people to start looking more our direction here. Not to say that, and I'm not saying that to sway people to not be a Spider-Man fan or Iron Man fan or whatever fan that you are. Far from that. But the thing that I'm all saying is that as we travel down this road here, be if I could say, how can I put this? Be cautious. And the reason I say be cautious is that really get into your love a little bit more. Start being a little bit more particular in whether or not you're enjoying what is coming out. Because not everything is for everybody. And I'm beginning to see that as of right now with a lot of different things here. I've been saying that for the longest time with the X-Men. I've been saying that for the longest time with Tom King's version of Wonder Woman. Not that it was overly bad. In my point of view, it's not good. But talking to fans who love what Tom King is doing, I don't badmouth them for liking bad books. I was like, no. You like Wonder Woman now. You're good with me. You like this. You like what he's doing. I'm okay with that. My job as a fan is like, if you like this, let me show you what's going on here with everything before he wrote, or with everything that is going to happen afterwards. Oh, Parallax is saying hello to Aaron here. But that's the key thing. I don't make another fan feel bad for what they like. I'd rather for you to be a Wonder Woman fan. And if you love Tom King's Wonder Woman, so be it. But I want you to also enjoy the wonders of everybody that came before and everybody that came after. The John Byrne Wonder Woman, the George Perez Wonder Woman. there's just so much juicy stuff that's there that came before it, and it's going to be juicy stuff coming afterward. Now, mind you, I've been enjoying Absolute Wonder Woman over time. What Tom King is doing, not to say that what he's doing is bad. It's just not my cup of tea. And he kind of ruined the mythos of Wonder Woman. It's like his version takes a lot of things out of the normal context of how Diana would react to certain things here. It's almost like pretty much he was giving like a blank slate to do whatever he wants in this series. And with knowing that, I have to take my reservations on things that are being done. Not to say that if other people love it, I want them to love it. But I also want them to understand why older people who might not like it would tell them, it's like, hey, this is not my cup of tea, and this is the reason why. And hopefully they will understand why. Not everybody's run of a particular title is going to be liked by all the fans here. Like, for example, I don't really talk much about Captain America, but I love what Brubaker did for Captain America. That was the only reason why I ever got into Captain America since like the early days. The early day stuff never really got to me. It wasn't until Ed Brubaker started writing it that I was like, oh, this stuff really makes sense now about how Steve Rogers really was. And the fact that he wrote Bucky as Cap and wrote the majority of how Sam became Cap made me a big fan of the franchise now. Not to say that the stuff that came before it was bad, but it gave me better clarity of the mythos, and I understood why the stuff that came before it would, might be the way that it is before there. What do you mean nobody is here? I see four people watching on the clip here. So I do have a monitor, so I do see how many people are kind of watching and everything here. So I think there are people here and watching. It's just that not a lot of people are saying much of anything here. Like I said, you can always interrupt me with questions and all this other stuff, and even with your own thoughts about this stuff. And we have discussions here all the time. So saying nobody's here is, fleeting. It is what it is here. But saying all that to say here, getting back to that, it's like if it wasn't for Ed Brubaker, I probably would not even be interested in a Captain America or have any iota of what could have been with Captain America beyond the few issues that I have from the older stuff. But those are the types of things. The reason why I say it's like you don't poo-poo other fans of stuff that you don't like within in these different type of runs here. You have to understand why they like it. And once you understand why they like it, you'll be like, hey, okay, I get it. I give that to you. It's like, that is kind of cool. It's like, well, it's not my cup of tea, but I understand why you dig it. Okay, bye. Okay, not a problem. Hopefully you enjoy what you've seen up to this point here and come back. You're always welcome here. And it's not like you're not welcome. You're always welcome here. You can always ask questions and everything here. So with that being stated about why you don't talk bad about what other people like, you always want to turn people on. You don't want to turn people off to the titles and stuff that you like here. But nonetheless, those are the two major big predictions in the state of comics as of right now that I'm seeing here. Within the next 10 years, there's going to be a big drop off with all of the bigger companies as far as their sales is going to be as they move towards, if they all move towards what Marvel Studios is doing, where their television and movie productions is going to take over the comic book arm of it. You want to see a major downslide in sales over the next 10 years, where it's going to go down, plateau, and then come back up once they figure out what they really want to do here. During that 10-year span, you're going to see an increase in a lot more of the independent creators' works becoming more and more popular and hitting the mainstream. They might not make it to television or movies, but if you're a comic book collector or really into reading comics, you want to see a major influx of more and more people talking about the stuff that normally gets left behind or not talked about here. Prediction number 3, and hopefully this one may happen sooner or later. I also predict that there might be another, if I could say, guide to comics coming up here. And when I say a guide to comics, we're not talking about like an Overstreet about pricing. We're not talking about anything that's going to be monetary related here. We're talking about possibly another source outlet that will get popular enough where people will start following it for latest and greatest news about the comic book creators, the people who makes the books, and upcoming titles to look out for. We don't have too many out there as of right now. I know that people are going to say, well, what about Bleeding Cool? What about Newsarama? What about all these other websites here? When you truly think about those websites, they really don't focus in on the average everyday creator. They focus in more on who is buzzworthy or who has the it factor or who's making the most noise at this point in time. They're not talking about the latest and greatest series that they read. And it's like, hey, I need to tell people to look at this series here because it was a cool little read for the first 2 issues. I think other people may like it. And for those who may not know, it's like, I know Bleeding Cool had this policy is that they don't review books. It's like you can submit in articles to them to talk about your book and everything, and they will review it and everything. If it's no newsworthy to them, they might post it out on their website. That used to be their policy. So that's the reason why I've said that this is going to be prediction number 3. Eventually, somebody's going to take the time to start really putting together a group of people that's going to go out there and really start buckling down and talking about comics that they truly dig. And the reason why I say that is because with all the negativity that's out there, we have plenty of YouTube channels talking about how they getting all these characters wrong and how comics is just going downhill and this, that, and the other. I truly believe that there's not enough people out there that's truly reading and coming out here and say, hey, I love this book because of X, Y, and Z. And you should read it too. Not too many people are doing that here. I mean, we try to do it with Comic Book Spectrum. Sometimes we successful and sometimes we're not. But at least we try to be fair. You know, if we don't like something, we're not saying, hey, don't buy this stuff. It's like, hey, we say it's not my cup of tea. This is the reason why, but it might be right up your alley. But we need that one reference point, especially for all the smaller entities, the smaller companies, the one-off creators. We need something for them to have other people come out there and look at it and be like, hey, I did not know that that's coming out. What is about to get crowdfunded? I was like, maybe I might think about going out there and checking out their campaign. Or, oh, they got a website. Or, oh, they're doing their stuff on Webtoons. Maybe I might go out there and check their stuff out on Webtoons. We need people reporting on that type of stuff more so than anything else. And I predict within this upcoming next 10 years, that's going to happen. Because even with the invention of the internet, there's just too much stuff out there. We just need a group just to come in and focus in on that and being positive and talking about how certain projects are doing what they're doing here. You know, that's just the key thing about what makes this comic book industry what it is here. Back in the 90s, we used to have Wizard. Wizard used to be a good reference point until certain friends of that company started getting more press than others. And then after 1996 or 7, it became more or less like pop culture where movies and stuff was taking over than comic books. It's like the heyday of focusing solely on comics went away. Because by the time we got to like the 2000s, it's like the Wizard that originally came out was not the same Wizard that we was getting. It's like the Wizard that we was getting was more like, you know, Entertainment Weekly. Yeah, it might have some few things about comics up in it, about the creators that they like, but the majority of the articles about TV shows and movies and all this other geek culture stuff that was coming out, and the focus was no longer with comics here. We need something like that. We need a comic shop news. We need somebody who really loves this genre coming out here and talking about the different projects from all of these different companies, especially companies that you might not even heard of that might be worth people's time to read. It would be interesting again if we get back to that point. If anything that I could take back from take from the past and bring it forward to now, it would be something like that. Because there's so many books coming out that a lot of people have not heard of, nor really got a good synopsis on it to be like, what's this about? Is this something that I may like here? None of that stuff is really happening. Everybody wants to talk about how they messed up this show, or how this book got messed up, or how the artwork over here was bad in that book. It's like, where's the love? Where's the real hype and positivity about something that should be good coming out? There's no anticipation for the next big thing coming out anymore. And those who are getting that hype for being the next big thing, it's not getting the hype about the work that is done. They're getting a hype because of, oh, it's already getting it's already been earmarked for a movie or been earmarked for a television show. It's not being earmarked because of the work that's in the comics. That's a problem. We need something, whether it be a website, whether it be a podcast. We need something where us smaller guys can get half our 15 minutes of fame being brought to everyone all over the world to say, hey, this might be a title that you might like. And they're already 5 issues in. You might want to start picking it up now while the beginning is good. You can still get it in on an issue number 1 for relatively cheap and all this other stuff. We need those types of things. We need the comic shop news from old. We need old school 90s Wizard. We need that type of stuff here and now with all the different innovations and all the different platforms that are out there. There's just too many titles from independent sources that are just not getting the notoriety that they should. It is what it is here. So that's the third prediction. The third prediction is that somebody's going to eventually do that. I'm not going to do it because I'm too busy making my own comics, but I believe somebody else will have enough love and care to start that project. And on that note, that's pretty much it for tonight here. I don't have anything else as far as predictions that have actually been thought about and really rationalized out where I can actually pull out proof on why I feel the way that I feel. But like I said before, I always preference that you're not going to see this happen right away. This is predictions over the next 10 years. So within the next decade, this is what I'm seeing. This is the trending that I'm seeing here. You notice how I did not talk about, people who are in this for a financial gain, who is doing the whole having the hobby fund itself. I'm leaving that type of stuff alone here. But also seeing a difference in speculation already. The speculation difference is now coming into play. And a lot of things that I've been saying about speculation is coming to fruition. People are now going back and looking at, does this title have legs? Does the title itself, can the title itself sell itself? Does it need to be optioned for a movie to have that hype to get people to buy it? Or if people really enthralled with that story where they're going to buy it, monthly regardless, or wait for the trade paperback and buy it in trade paperback form. That type of speculation is coming back. And I'm happy that speculation is coming back, because that's what true speculation in comics is really about. That's what makes some of the books really valuable. It's not about, this book, this title has been optioned for a movie and the movie never comes out. And while the hype is there, people are willing to, pay through the nose for issues that eventually become like dollar bin books. It's more along the lines, does this title have legs on its own? Are people trying to read this particular storyline or the whole series? And if so, why are they reading it? Is it because it's a great story? Or is it because a particular character is in it? Or is it because of something unique that has never been done before? That's the type of speculation that we need back in comics. Not because, millions of people go and see it on the movie screen. Movie goers are not comic book readers. Does not necessarily mean that they're going to be a great demand for that comic because you got umpteen million moviegoers going to watch a movie. You should not expect those millions of people to go to a comic book store to get to the source material. Doesn't happen. You might have maybe at best 2% of them trying to go over. And even at 2%, that's still not enough to warrant the hype over an option. But that's pretty much what it is. So on that note, I open up the door for those who are still with us on the chat here. If you got anything that you want to say, let's have it. Got any questions? How are you guys feeling out there? You guys got any predictions? Go ahead and let me know what predictions that you guys have. But those are the three that I know beyond a shadow of a doubt over the next 10 years that something is going to majorly change here. I know that you guys are watching, so I'm going to give you guys a few moments here. If nobody has anything to say, we're just going to end up the show early. We're not going to go to full 2 hours here. So I give you guys a couple of moments here. If you notice that on the bottom of the screen, you can take note of how to get to our website to buy our comics at cgcstudios.com and our Teespring store here, which again has some of our merch on it here. You know what? I haven't been out to the Teespring store in a long while. I almost forgot that we had it for a greater degree here until I remembered about the banner. So I might just go out there to show you guys that, yes, we do have like coffee mugs and all of this other stuff here ready to go for you guys on Teespring. So you can get t-shirts and mugs and all of this other nice merchandise here that, like I said, I don't really toot our horns here, but that's a mistake on my part that I really start to need to really get into making people aware that we got comic books, we got t-shirts, we got coffee mugs, we got a lot of different things happening over here at CGC Studios that a lot of times people just don't realize that we have. So just to give you an idea, this is our Teespring store right here, where you could get the Amazonia mug. We have t-shirts, fanny packs, and everything. We even have Primetime Saturday Night t-shirts, AWF t-shirts, all different t-shirts across the board here. We even got masks and all of these nice little t-shirts all available here for like $25.99, $24.99. I don't know what happened with that image. I don't know why they took down that image, but I have to go back out there and figure out what's going on with that t-shirt here. Or is it just it's saying image coming soon? So I guess it didn't like the image anymore. Something happened with that image. I had to go back and figure that out here. But we got t-shirts over there. And if you go to cgcstudios.com, it would take you to our company website here, where you could go and get all of our comics here. So we have our Legends of the Giantess Slayer here. Oh, I still have to go out there and take off the C2E2 type stuff here, but we got the C2E2 variant and everything else all wrapped up nice little bowl here, where you could buy it directly from us and we will ship directly to you. If you are into the digital side of things here, we got the digital comics right there on the website where you could buy it directly from us here. You don't have to always go out to Comixology or Global Comics. You could get it directly from us as well. So it does look like no one else has anything else to say here. So I'm going to bid you guys adieu. Thank you for watching here. And if you do have a question, feel free to mention in the comments. I do read the comments in the replays when people replay it and they have questions. I do read those things and do reach back out to you and respond as well. So as I always say, live life, grow, and be well. And I'll see you here next Saturday for another episode of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. Have a good rest of your weekend, and we are out. Goodbye.